Hello and welcome back. Did you know that over 50,000 Americans committed suicide last year? And that is not only the highest number ever recorded, but also the highest rate since 1941, and that was over 80 years ago in the middle of the Second World War. Well, in today's video, I'm going to tell you about my patient who I met after he tried to take his own life because of his grief, and that made me reflect on my own grief and loss. We're going to talk some about normal or grief-related depression and how you can distinguish that with major or clinical depressive disorder. Well, my name is Dr. Ruben Gagarin. I'm your favorite family psychiatrist. Let's dive in. My real patient's fictional name is Simon. Of course, I had to change some details. He was admitted to our hospital a couple of months ago. When we met on psychiatric ward, he also told me that a couple of weeks before he actually tried to take his life by taking overdose, but at that point he didn't tell anyone. He seemed to be at his baseline or functioning normally until his girlfriend broke up with him. They were dating for about 14 months. That was his first long-term relationship. He had big long-term plans for them. He imagined that they would get married and be together forever. So when unexpectedly she broke up with him, it crushed him. He developed depression, he was hopeless, developed suicidal thoughts. But after he came to our hospital, he started working on some coping skills. We gave him some space to process what is happening with him. He created a safety plan, so he was able to go home in much better spirits. We decided to put medication option on a back burner because his symptoms were getting better and he did not have much of depression before the breakup. So when we discharged him, we just gave him a follow-up appointment and community resources. Simon came back to see me in the clinic this week. He kept getting better. He said that his parents paying more attention to him and more supportive. Well, prior to the breakup, he played volleyball and also learned violin, but kind of reluctantly, just because his parents forced him to do that. After the hospitalization, he rediscovered his love for sports. Instead of chatting with his teammates, he's paying attention to other people's games and learning from it. He's much more focused in his games and he goes to his practices with much more enthusiasm. In his music lessons, he's playing with more passion and he's preparing for each class. He also dusted off his phone book and has been spending more time with his friends. Simon's grief over loss of a relationship led him to serious depressive symptoms, but he was able to pull himself out of depression by focusing on things that he excels at to ease his sense of loneliness and abandonment. The way how Simon dealt with his depression reminded me of how I dealt with my grief and loss. See, a few years ago, quite suddenly, I lost my mother. She was relatively healthy, and one morning she appeared to have a heart attack and passed away. I had a lot of grief. I felt very sad. I could not sleep for a couple of nights, was crying, and I really did not want to do anything. I didn't want to go to work or spend time with my family, but I kind of forced myself. I thought that, well, instead of burying myself in my sorrows, I might as well just go to work. And that really helped, you know. I'm well respected at work. I love what I do. I love helping people like you or Simon to deal with their issues. And that really helped me to deal with my own sense of worth. I also made sure that I spent time with my family. We had some family dinners, watched movies, etc. The main reason why Simon and I were able to pull ourselves from that depression, because it was part of our grief. He grieved his relationship. I grieved the loss of my parent. But had I had a major depressive disorder, that may not have worked. So how do you know that someone close to you develops major depressive disorder or clinical depression as opposed to normal depression? Well, one of the warning signs is so-called anhedonia. That is a symptom of depression when one loses any kind of pleasure. They used to enjoy things, but they don't enjoy it anymore. See, what was happening with Simon, after the discharge from the hospital, he was able to reconnect with his friends, with his teammates, etc., and he enjoyed it. In my case, I reconnected with my family, I focused on my work, so while I was working, that was normal for me. I enjoyed my work just as much as I usually do. A very concerning sign of clinical depression is hopelessness. In severe cases, of course, that develops into suicidal thoughts. The fact that Simon developed suicidal thoughts and even tried to take his own life tells us that he came so very close to major depressive disorder. Had he not asked for help on time, he would probably develop an illness, and he would probably need more medication and more treatment. I personally did not experience much of hopelessness or any suicidal thoughts. But see, I'm thinking that maybe loss of a parent is more a natural grief that we all have to learn to deal with. But a loss of relationship, especially when it happens so unpredictably, can hit pretty hard, and the person does not have a chance to prepare. Typically, major depressive disorder, as any other medical condition, comes with a lot of physical symptoms. People who experience that condition have changes in sleep. Sometimes they sleep too much or sleep too little. They have difficulties falling asleep. They wake up too early, feeling sad. They have increase in blood pressure. They have difficulties digesting food. They lose or sometimes gain weight. So it affects their whole body, not just their mind. Simon's case reminds me of an animated film, Inside Out. In that genius movie about human psyche, the protagonist, Riley, she has the psychological islands. She has an island of family, friendship, and hockey, etc. And as she gets depressed, the islands, they start sinking. When I presented that idea of islands and I showed Simon some pictures, he related to me that prior to the breakup, he actually left with only one island of his girlfriend. He had abandoned to a degree his friends. He didn't focus on school so much. He did not spend that much time with his family. His main focus was just on this relationship, so he became kind of dependent on it. And ironically, he reflected that it actually probably ended the relationship because this intensity, this emotional dependence on his girlfriend eventually became overwhelming to her and burned her out. We ended our appointment on a cheerful note. Simon was going to continue on his psychological islands, and I was going to make this video for you. I also suggested him to read some books to learn about other people's experiences so he doesn't have to deal with his own loss just based on his own life. As I'm wrapping up this video, hear me out. You are not alone. Please reach out for help if you're experiencing any mental health issues. You can simply call 988. That is mental health crisis line. You can reach out to your family doctor, call 911, ask them to bring you to emergency room if it is something urgent. There are plenty of resources on and offline. Talk to someone, talk to your friends, people around you, ask your family for help, as Simon did. Many of the suicides last year could have been prevented with treatment. I'm Dr. Ruben Gagarin. Please subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment about what you want to learn about mental health and how I can improve my YouTube and clinical skills. Thank you very much. See you next time.